Gloria Graf from Epidemology presents Fast Forward, Are 21st Century Americans Growing Old Before Their Time?
All right. So if you're like most people, you already have some intuitive sense of what aging looks like. You slow down a little bit, you start having aches and pains where you didn't before, and you start worrying about things like blood pressure and bone density. But you also probably have the sense that these changes don't happen at the same rate for everyone. And that's why we say things like, oh, Sally looks so good for her age, or Eric looks like he's aged 10 years since his divorce. Now, maybe you're just a nice person who doesn't talk about other people this way. But the point here, right, is that we all have an intuitive sense of what appearance and physical function look like at a given age. And most importantly, we notice whether people look older or younger than that expectation. As it turns out, this intuition has a biological basis. And recently, scientists have developed algorithms to quantify how quickly or slowly we're aging at a molecular level. Using these measures, we can distinguish between faster agers and slower agers by the time people graduate from college. So in my dissertation work, I apply these measures to the entire US population. I use data from the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey, which has looked at a representative sample of Americans every 2 years since 1999. And what I find is that Americans today are aging faster than they did 5 years ago. But not only that, we've been aging faster and faster for the past 20 years. When I look into why this is, my research suggests that environmental changes are a major driver of these trends, affecting everything from our diet, to our physical activity levels, to the quality of air that we breathe. But you might be wondering, well, why don't we just look at a simpler measure, like life expectancy? Because as many of you know, life expectancy has also stagnated and even declined in some years since around 2010, even before the COVID-19 pandemic. But these declines were largely driven by suicide and overdose mortality among white men in middle age, whereas my research suggests that accelerated aging is universal, regardless of age, race, or sex. And so life expectancy is a useful measure, but it doesn't always tell us the whole story. And in this case, it's only by looking at biological aging that we can start to uncover some of these broader underlying vulnerabilities in the rest of the population. And so going forward, my hope is that we can use these measures to revolutionize the way we do population health research, not just looking at who's at risk of death, disease, and disability today, but projecting those outcomes several decades into the future, and most importantly, giving us enough lead time for effective prevention and intervention. Thank you.